Morning, everyone. Thank you guys for joining us so early on a Friday after a big night, big day yesterday. I'm Jack Mollins, not Jake Mollins. I answer to all single-syllable names that start with J, so that's fine. All good. I am the head of ad sales for Atmosphere. I think a lot of you are familiar with who Atmosphere is at this point. We were fortunate enough to have our name mentioned on a couple panels yesterday. If you'd rather watch the screen over there instead of me, I don't blame you because it's engaging content. And I'm fortunate to have Jerome Shimizu with me to talk a little bit more. A lot of what was focused on yesterday was these new lanes and opportunities that are available in out-of-home, thanks to digital out-of-home, video out-of-home, which we see ourselves sitting in. But how do we also measure that? So Jerome brings some really great insights from ABCS Insights to talk about the best way to measure moving forward. You guys are going to have to bear with me on the click. I should have played this as I was talking because this is engaging content as well. Great. So what is Atmosphere? We sit in that lane between CTV and out-of-home, right? We bring the engagement of TV with the awareness of out-of-home and have it all in one place to be a new channel for folks to focus on. We're excited to bring it to you. We'll talk quickly about what that looks like from the Atmosphere perspective. Again, I feel like a lot of you guys are familiar with who we are, but then kick it over to Jerome to talk about different opportunities for everyone here to measure campaigns and to show success. Of course, there will be some campaigns that they measured for us specifically in that. So again, as I mentioned, we bring the power of TV, but we bring it to the out-of-home space. So what we know is there's a lot of TV in the living room. It's one of the most dominant forms of media. People love engaging with television. Hundreds of years of innovation, and TV still sits at the top of the mountain, correct? But what people didn't think about when creating TV content is, what does it look like outside the living room, right? So we've got all this great content to consume inside the living room, on our devices, our laptops, whatnot. But when you're sitting at the gym, when you're sitting at a bar or restaurant, when you're sitting in your doctor's office, it's not great. It's not great to watch. Oops, press too soon. It's not great to watch an episodic show or to watch Stephen A. Smith yelling in all caps at folks captioned, right? So our founders saw that gap about 8 years ago and said, what can we do to give me something to watch while I'm sitting at the bar, while I'm at the gym? And because of that, we now have 40+ channels. So we think of ourselves first as an entertainment company. So when you think of out-of-home, you think of TV, we are a content-first play that people engage with intentionally while they're sitting out of home. It's not a passerby experience. They're sitting there for long periods of time, 35, 45, 55 minutes, engaging with our content. So we often get lumped in, and as John mentioned, we were here at the TV Video Summit as well because we consider ourselves a media company first. But how are we different from the folks you guys are seeing on the screen now? None of them create content specifically for out-of-home, which again that's our lane. It's where we live. Show some quick examples. We'll run through these. It's kind of reiterating, duplicative to what I just said. But again, it's great. First Take is great when you're at home, getting ready for work, about to leave. So is SVU when you're at home. You get home from work. You want to sit down with the wife, the kids, watch some TV. It's great. But look, no one's looking at the screen in the bars or restaurant while Stephen A. Smith is yelling in all caps. And no one's sitting there watching an episodic form of content at a bar, restaurant, gym, spa. But what they are watching is some of the 40+ channels that Atmosphere provides. We have our own sports channel that runs alongside sports content. It's all highlights, betting odds, news, quick snippets, no commentary, no anchors, just here's what's happening right now, today in sports. Huge sports fan, fortunately have Atmosphere Sports playing in my office, so I can keep up with sports in that way, because I don't have the time to consume it at home. And then also watching people do amazing things. People love watching people do amazing things. Stunts, great locations. It is very distracting for those of us in our Atmosphere office because we've got screens everywhere, so we're staring at them all the time. Like you see me on a call, I'm paying attention, but I'm also watching our screens. And because of this new lane that we've created, we've experienced some massive growth over the past few years. I've been here now for 5 years. When I started, I think we had 5 million unique users. We're at now, we've seen 15x growth. We're in 65,000 venues in all 210 DMAs. And as of the survey that came out last month, we are at 135 million unique users. So that puts us at a pretty significant scale and reach compared to, in comparison to all other media companies. And when you're thinking of, all right, that hard to find 18 to 49-year-olds, here we sit. YouTube, Atmosphere, and the rest of us. Because the 18 to 49-year-old demo is not sitting at home watching CBS on a Tuesday night. They're out and about living their lives, right? So we like to say this as kind of a backhanded compliment to ourselves. I'm not sure if I fully embrace it, but we're the largest media company you may have never heard of. Does that resonate? But so, again, in recap, what have we done? We've taken these screens that have normally been dormant, both for consumers and for advertisers, because in the past, for you to advertise on these screens in businesses, it had to be an extension to your broadcast, your linear TV buys. We've also, for businesses, it keeps butts in seats longer. It gives people reasons to stay there longer. It reduces perceived wait times. If you're in a waiting room at a Jiffy Lube, do you want to watch Judge Judy or do you want to watch something that's engaging for you to watch? And then for audiences, again, it keeps people engaged, keeps them in seats longer, and reduces perceived wait time, perceived dwell time. And for advertisers, it's a new lane. It's new scale. It's intentional. It's deliberate. You can now get in front of audiences based on what their in real life behaviors are. A couple more slides, and then I'll hand it over to Jerome. We have national scale, but we also have the hyper-local targeting capabilities. We talked about that a lot yesterday. Like, how do you get in front of people with engaging ads? We can serve a Pepsi ad in Pittsburgh with the Steelers attached to it. We can serve it in Cincinnati with the Bengals attached to it as well. We can plug into your API to give real live betting odds for our lottery friends out there. We can update based on what the lottery's at. Are we at 1 billion yet, Will? Not yet. All right. And then also we can day part and put your ads in venues that are within a 2-mile radius of Jack in the Box, which was talked about yesterday as well. So, and we can take your existing assets and make them high impact to work best on our screens. And with that, I am done. So with that though, a lot of the conversation yesterday too was around, great, we do all these great things, but how do we know it works, right? Like how does measurement work in the digital at-home space? And fortunately for us, a lot of different companies are coming to the table saying, we realize how big of a channel this is for brands, so we need to start showing those results. And that's where I will turn it over to Jeremy to start talking about the opportunity with ABC. Jerome.
Jerome, not Jeremy.
We're killing it this morning with names, man. All right, I'll hand it over to Jerome. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Jack. Jack, not Jake, right? Okay.
It's a soft day.
And I can speak firsthand going into their office, and it's a weird experience to have people not offended when you're watching the content going on there and not paying attention to the meeting. So they do that for real. I'm Jerome Shimizu, founder of ABCS Insights. I've been working in research analytics for about 25 years, measured thousands of campaigns. So I guess my claim to fame is probably measuring more campaigns than anyone who's not retired yet. And so I wanted to talk first just a little bit about some conventional wisdom in the measurement industry of what we have seen that works. One thing that we have seen that works is engaging ads. That can be larger screens, that can be motion, that can be video itself as a movement is beneficial. Another conventional wisdom of what we've seen work over the years is being close to the point of sales. So think about when you're in a grocery store, the guy's sitting there giving out free samples. If you talk to any brand, they'll probably tell you that's the highest % lift of anything that they do. It's also one of the most expensive things to do, so it might not be a good ROI, but it certainly does move the needle being close to the POS. A third conventional wisdom is being able to hit the right audience at the right moment. Think about the Super Bowl, right? Even, it's probably the most expensive media buy you can do. Even after you adjust for the cost of the reach, the huge reach you get out of the Super Bowl, there's still a premium that advertisers are willing to pay because of that moment. You're reaching a very engaged, special audience at a moment where they're happy, where they're entertained. So when you think about this, just as measurement practitioners, really the different types of digital out of home, they check a lot of these boxes and actually a lot of other boxes that are really important that we know over years work. So the question is, what's the problem? Why aren't more people buzzing about what's going on right now in digital out of home? And I think a big part of this is actually our fault, the lack of measurement system. So I'm going to talk about today what we've done here to help solve for these different digital out of home measurement problems. The first problem with the digital out of home measurement is the problem of identity. If you look at a digital out of home device, the IP address of that is different than the IP address, let's say, of the consumer. So trying to bridge that identity gap has been a problem. We've taken a three-pronged approach to solving that. The first one, I think a lot of you are familiar with, is using geofencing technology, so like the polygon mapping around individual locations. When a consumer crosses through those locations, you can identify that they were exposed to net. A second one that we've used here that I think is pretty novel is what we call purchase-based identity. So think about yourself, a person going into a Wendy's and they buy a burger. Well, that is normally looked at in research as an outcome. You ran advertising, they bought a burger. But what we're doing is flipping that over and saying, they bought a burger, they were at this place at this time, and they were exposed to the digital out-of-home element that was playing there. So we can actually use what was used to be outcome data as a way of finding people who are exposed. And then a third thing that we've been seeing more of is that the ad servers in this space are evolving and starting to provide like a lot of the exposure data naturally. So that's a great development. So we'll use all three of those. Second problem that we need to solve for digital out-of-home measurement is the outcome sales data, right? So really you need to have two different data sets to look at how advertising works. One that's going to be item level, so think about, traditionally that was frequent shopper data sets. We actually have the ABCS Insights Receipt Panel Network, which has item level data. And another one is the credit card data. So we brought in both of those data sets to this analysis. The third challenge with digital out-of-home measurement is methodology. Traditional methodologies like marketing mix models, they have difficulty measuring things like this. When you have a tactic that is more longer term in nature, where it's more sparse in terms of the exposure, there are people here and there scattered throughout the United States that are exposed, that gets to be very difficult to measure in traditional systems. And so what we've applied here is experimental design, and this has been applied in other parts of the industry successfully for this exact application. I like to say, when life is on the line, go with experimental design. So after, a little cheesy rhyme there for you guys, hope you enjoyed that. So after we've solved for these problems, what was the result? And so we have two case studies here that we've gone through with Atmosphere. Just to put this in perspective, this first case study, here's our norms for CPG, food and beverage. You can see 3.9% lift. This is across everything, including traditional linear television. That's our norm. And for household penetration lift, 2.3% lift. So we measured a 5-week campaign, and what we saw was a very high, triple-digit lift, 119% sales lift, test versus control, for that kind of direct effect on premise. And household penetration, 124% lift. So massive percent gains there on premise. But also we saw still substantial lifts when we looked at the all-outlet, off-premise, anywhere effects of the advertising. 7.7% in sales lift. This is actually, to me, the more exciting part of this analysis is the anywhere numbers. That's 2x our norm for sales lift and 3.8% in household penetration, 1.7x our norm. $15 per dollar spent ROI. That's really high. So great results out of this first test. We did a second test. Again, you can see our norms there for comparison. And this time was a 4-week campaign. Even higher lift. We saw a 10.6% sales lift. That was 2.7x our norms. Again, test versus control. Both these studies, we also measured this penetration effect here. And I want to put just an extra point on that. When we talk to brands, they really tend to home in on this penetration, because that's where you're going to see new customers coming into your brand. That can be trial. That can be people who have lapsed out of your brand that are coming back in earlier. So always fantastic to see. Also, greater than $1 incremental ROAS, $1.95 there. Great to see. Long story short, at least in these tests, digital advertising, digital out-of-home advertising works, and it works well, and you should be seriously considering it in your media plan. Thank you.
And for listening to us, you get to watch cute puppies and birds doing tricks. And I think we'll open the floor to questions. But I think one of the takeaways, just to reiterate what Jerome said there, is a lot of times we think about out-of-home as being on-premise, close to the sale. But what we've shown with these couple campaigns is it drives awareness outside of point of sale. So people that go to a bar or restaurant may not drink Modelo at the bar or restaurant. They may drink it when they leave that weekend. We also didn't run these CPG campaigns strictly in bars and restaurants that sold those products. One of them was a calorie-free beverage, so that was ran in gyms. And it continues to show that digital out-of-home, the awareness build is great, but now that we can show outcomes behind it as well, there's no reason why digital out-of-home should not be a huge part of everybody in here's mix.
All right. Thanks, man. Great job. Great job.